Hello. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Rio de Lago 100-mile endurance run pre-race briefing. I'm glad all of you could join tonight as we go over lots of great information that will help you have a successful race. This race is presented by our title sponsor, Ultra. We'll have a little bit more on that as we go through the briefing tonight. I'll start off and let you know we are at the NorCal Ultras headquarters in Roseville, California. My name is James Barstad. In the room here at the headquarters, we have a lot of our NorCal Ultras team members. Julie, our race director, is right here. We've got Melissa, Sherry, Louie, Mike, and Mansour. Integral parts of our NorCal team, but we're also joined remotely by several of our NorCal Ultras team as well, who will present some information tonight that'll be helpful for you. We've got Mark and Patty, Jen and Chris, and Leslie and Jim Richards on as well, and they're going to be presenting information to you as we go through tonight. This briefing is being recorded, and it will be on the website no later than 72 hours after tonight. So if there's information that you wanted to go back and listen to again, you can do that. Or maybe you have a friend who wasn't able to join. They can go onto the NorCal or the Rio de Lago website and listen to this pre-race briefing here. Also, the chat will be monitored. Melissa will be monitoring the chat and answering questions real time as they come up. Hopefully, as we go through a lot of this briefing tonight, we'll answer most of your questions, but certainly there may be some other ones that come up. So feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get them answered for you. We're also going to be joined by a few of our sponsors who we look forward to hearing from tonight. But just a little bit about this race. This is the 23rd running of the Rio de Lago 100-mile endurance run. This race was initially started in the year 2000 by Norm and Helen Klein. Norm had been a previous race director for Western States, and this race was started by him in 2000. It was originally run in September, so it was in early September when the race was originally run, a typically warmer time. This race was acquired by NorCal Ultras in 2014. So 2014 was the first year that NorCal Ultras produced this event, and we've continued to grow and just make it better and better every year. NorCal Ultras also moved the race to November, and one big advantage is that the weather is a lot cooler typically, so it can certainly be conducive to greater finishing and finishing rates and faster times. The course is a great first-time 100-mile course for first-time 100-mile runners. We actually have 106 of our runners this year. This will be their first 100-mile race. Our total in the 100-mile event is 285. There is a 50K that's running along with the 100. It actually starts at the same time. The 50K, I believe this is our third running of the 50K. So the 100's been going a long time, but the 50K is relatively new. We've got 178 participating in the 50K. So that means we've got 463 runners that we expect to see at that starting line on Saturday morning. So this, as I mentioned, is a very good race for first-time 100-mile runners. Some of the things that make it that way are it's just a very well-supported race. If you've participated in any NorCal Ultras races before, you know the aid stations are second to none. I mean, they've got all kinds of great stuff, and they're captained by very experienced ultra runners too, who know how to support the runners and know how to get the runners to the finish line. So it's a great race for that. One thing I will touch on here is this race, since it's been moved to November, it has traditionally and continues to be on the weekend that daylight savings time ends. So that is a little bit of a tricky part of the weekend. Now, here at NorCal Ultras, we honor daylight savings time, or the time that it is Saturday morning when the race starts, and we honor that time until everyone is finished. So we will stay on that time, even though your clocks may change, our clocks don't. So keep that in mind as you are participating in the event, because, like many runners, we've got our connected devices and watches and phones and all that will change, but our clocks won't. And especially if you're concerned about cutoffs, that's something to really stay on top of. And if you've got a pacer, they can help you do that. And we're going to talk more about pacers tonight as well. So as I mentioned, we do have some of our sponsors joining us. We've got Nick from Ultra. Ultra is our title sponsor, and Ultra has been a title sponsor for NorCal Ultra events for, is it 3 years now? 4 years.
4.
I think it's 4 years now. Yeah, Nick knows. Of course, Nick knows. I know it's been a while, and probably many of you are running in Ultra shoes. So I'm gonna let Nick jump on here. But also, before he does, we also have Megan from Jambar. Jambar is a sponsor, and Megan's on as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and then we'll let Megan talk a little bit about Jambar.
Sweet. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you again. Always excited for Rio del Lago. I live locally, so these are some of my local trails. Am I coming in okay? Okay, sweet. Yeah, so trying to think here. If you don't know us, we're Ultra. You should know us. We make awesome shoes. We started in the back of a running store about 13 years ago now, making shoes to help out the common issues that we were seeing within our local running community, and came across a couple core features that seem to be very beneficial. One being an actual foot-shaped toe box. So it's actually shaped like your foot, doesn't have that fashion pointiness to it that smushes your toes together, allows that foot to relax. Most importantly, allows that big toe to stay aligned with your arch so it can properly support the foot, improves circulation, and just more comfortable than is the big thing. And then all of our shoes are either zero or low drop. So the whole gist of the brand is to make shoes that help you run in a more joint protective way, and be foot health and posture focused. This year at Rio, we're doing another shakeout run. We're giving it another go. So on Friday morning at 6 a.m., super bright and early to get you out of bed and up and going to do a little shakeout at Bill's Donuts, correct? Yeah, over in Granite Bay. I always just forget the name. But that's with Fleet Feet Folsom. There's always a really good group out there, but come check out some shoes and go out for a nice little shakeout, get some food, and then hit up the pack and pickup that starts later on, which we will also be at. So we'll have, if you don't come to the shakeout, we'll have more shoes and stuff for you to try and some goodies, possibly some discounts going on. And then we'll be out there on course with the live stream. I'll be helping out at ADO at Auburn Dam Overlook. I'll be kind of like the live boots on the ground field reporter during the live stream to help out. So definitely hope to catch a lot of you guys out there. And shoe news, we just had an awesome new shoe drop earlier this month. It's called the Forward Via. This shoe is amazing. You'll want a pair for after this race, possibly even during this race, but definitely after. It's a max cushion 4-drop, extremely lightweight. It's a supercritical TPU blend. So it's nice and cushy, but not too squishy, really inherently stable, just babies your feet. It's really responsive, has a big old rocker to it, and is amazing when your feet are tired. So come find me, check me out, and thank you. Good luck, rest up, enjoy your taper, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Nick. All right, you ready for us, Megan?
There you go. Can you hear
There
me?
you go.
Hey there. My name is Megan Bordas. I work in the marketing department at Jambar Organic Energy Bars, and we're super stoked to be at Rio del Lago for our third year in a row. Oh, I see some Jam Bars. Shout out to Sherry. Yeah, we're going to be on course for the third year in a row. And we love working with NorCal Ultras and Julie. You guys are an absolute pleasure. But just to get a gist of what you can expect for the del Lago experience with Jambar is we will be at all 10 aid stations. I believe that our bars will be cut in half. And Jambar has 5 flavors, and all 5 flavors will be showcased at each of the 10 aid stations. So we all know that your tastes and changes and your gut tolerance can change over time, especially in an ultra race. And we have a flavor to fit whatever your mood in, whether you're feeling something on the more savory side or you want something sweeter. We have flavors like our chocolate, which features a Guittard chocolate. We have a malt peanut butter flavor, which is an absolute classic. And then we have our 3 plant-based flavors that include musical mango, which has actual real mango in it. We have our berry flavor, which features 4 different kinds of freeze-dried berries. And then our newest flavor that we dropped this past March called Tropical Trio, which is a nice blend of coconut, banana, and pineapple, and with a nice walnut butter in there too. But we'll be on course. We hope that you get the opportunity to try our bars. But we understand, nutrition can be finicky on the day of a race. I've been an athlete my entire life, so I understand the GI distress or any anxiety that comes with what nutrition works for you. So we'll also be at the finish line. Our Jam Bar representative, Bruce, will be on site. So if you want to try any of our bars, ask us about our story and want to find out where you can find our products, he'll be on site to answer any of those questions for you. But just to give a little bit more history briefly about Jambar, we are an all organic energy bar. We're located in San Rafael, California, for any of you guys who are super local. And our founder, Jennifer Maxwell, started this product about 4 years ago, really with the goal of feeling good about the fuel that you put in your body. And Jenny comes from a background, she's a food scientist. She went to UC Berkeley, and she's also the original co-founder of the original Power Bar, which I'm sure a number of you either trained or know of the product from way back. And Jenny just really wanted to do a 2.0 on getting back in the industry. She's been a lifelong athlete, and a couple years ago, she was faced with the challenge of going in a grocery store and picking up some of the leading brands, and she didn't like the ingredients that she saw on shelf. And so she just went back to her kitchen, used the original homemade kitchen mixer that she actually came up with the original Power Bar recipe, and that's how Jam Bar was formed. So our history is super cool, it's super rich, and it's all based around athletes like yourselves, where we want to help you fuel and have the nutrition that you need to accomplish any and all of your goals, because it's hard to, setting big goals for yourself and running a long race like 100-miler or a 50K race. It's tough, even showing up to the start line mentally and physically fit. So we're just super stoked to be a part of the Rio experience, and we hope that you crush all of your goals and get the opportunity to try our products. So thanks for having me on tonight.
All right. Thank you, Megan. I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy those Jam Bars on the course for sure. You're going to need those calories. I know many of the questions that come in are about the course. So we're going to have Leslie talk about, give us an overview of the course, hopefully answer a lot of the questions that you may have about the course, the route, and the markings and all of that. So let me turn it over to Leslie.
All right, thank you. I'll be going over the course for both the 50K and the 100-miler. The course is basically, well, pretty much all the same as last year and the year before. Not minor tweaks, but no big changes. One big question we get all the time, is there a GPX file available? Yes, there is. And Melissa did just put that in the chat. However, please, you need to use common sense and you need to follow the course markings on race day. Things can happen. And that is the course on race day that you need to follow, is what the course markings say, not what your GPX is telling you. So the GPX is a great supplement, but follow those orange things that Sherry is holding up for you, the ribbons. They are orange and they have reflective tips. Your headlamp, if you have it on your head, is going to catch it very well at night. So that is what you are going to follow. So now I'm just going to do a rundown of the course. I'm going to mention some other things that have been, some of the questions that we've gotten through Sign Up Genius or prior to via email throughout, but also post any other questions and Melissa will grab them in the chat. Okay, so we start at Beals Point. From Beals Point, we're going down to the Folsom Overcrossing, and you're going to go left and up to the Johnny Cash Trail, up to the Johnny Cash Bridge. There will be a course monitor at that bridge to direct you down into Folsom. So once you are down the Johnny Cash Trail, you're going to see some additional course monitors there to help you get through this section. There will be one, as I said, at the Johnny Cash Bridge at the top, one near the rodeo grounds to direct you down and through the neighborhood. Another one, once you're down in Folsom, to direct you, you'll go under the bridge and back up onto the road. You do not cross the street. Another course monitor once you're going past the Lake Natoma Inn. And then another as you're turning right past Karen's Bakery, another landmark, and then down onto the bike trail. Then at that point, you are on a much more straightforward course on the bike trail for a bit of time. I'll pause for a second. I am also speaking to a lot of local landmarks throughout my talk, so locals will understand some of those. Once you get out there, you'll kind of see like, oh yeah, she mentioned a bakery, an inn, a bluff. So you'll kind of get those as well. But and also Sherry will have the pace chart up for you to view as I'm talking through the aid stations and mile markers as well. Okay, so we just got through the city of Folsom and we're dropping down onto the bike trail and approaching the first aid station at Willow Creek there at mile 9.28. So from Willow Creek, you're going to be on the paved bike trail for a little bit of time. You're circling around and going up the Hazel Overcrossing and then back down. And here is where the course will change briefly to trail. You're going to climb a steep bluff at the Natomas Dam and then drop back down. Until this point, you've all been entirely on pavement, about 12-ish miles to the Natoma Bluff. So after you come down that first Hazel Bluff, you'll go back out on the pavement briefly, and then you're going to turn back into these hills for a little bit more single track. And this is called the Middle Ridge Trail. There's a couple of trails in there, but take it by its name. There's a high trail, there's a low trail, there's a middle trail. So stay in the middle. And as we said, it's marked with the orange ribbon. This is going to take you to the corner of Sunset and Main. So you're going to drop off single track for a brief moment, cross some pavement and be back on single track and then up into the Hazel Bluffs again. So after this hilly section of the Hazel Bluffs, as we call it, you're going to drop back on the bike trail again for a bit of pavement to another aid station, Black Miners Bar. Black Miners Bar, okay, no cutoff there, mile 17.1. So from there, you stay on the paved bike trail back up the hill you'll see that Folsom crossing again, where you turn left at the beginning. And then you follow the bike trail back up to Beals where you started. So we have a hard cutoff at Beals, and that is 11:30 a.m. So there's all pavement up to there. So the first section, we have about 15-ish miles of pavement, but all the pavement sections have a decomposed granite section shoulder. So there is always that little option if you prefer the softer surface. The other question we get quite frequently is shoes. What shoes do I wear? So I've run Rio 3 or 4 times. I've done it all in road shoes. I have also started in road shoes and changed to a trail shoe at Beals. So it's really your preference of what is comfortable to you. Other staff members on the call will say they run it all in trail. So, there's differing opinions. Okay. All right. So after Beals, we stay on the levees, coming and going from Beals. And after Beals, there we go. There is much less pavement. At this point, it is more single track or fire road. So after Beals, you follow the levees, and then you follow a fire road around the lake to Granite Bay State Park. In Granite Bay State Park, I am describing now the course as designed. However, there is construction going on in Granite Bay State Park. Angie is marking the course, and she is a master course marker, especially in this section of the park. She is going to mark the best course for us on race day. It may differ from what I described, so I'm just going to generally say you're going to follow the lake around over to the Granite Beach aid station. So this is especially important for you to not look at your GPX, just follow those orange ribbons. So, and 50K, 100 milers, you're all together up until this point. Oh, and for a little bit longer. From Granite Beach aid station, you are then headed a little bit further, all 50K and 100 milers, until you see a course monitor and with a big A-frame sign that says 50K turnaround here. This is about mile 26-ish for the 50K folks and the 100-mile folks. 50K, turn around and head back. Just the way you came. Go to the Granite Beach aid station and keep going back to Beals, and you're done. You have a 1:30 hard cutoff at Beals. 100 milers, keep on going. At the 50K turnaround, you head on up that single track trail to the Horseshoe Bar aid station, which will be about your 50K mark, 32.9. From there, keep on going on that single track. At this point, there are not too many turnoffs. You just keep following those orange ribbons. There is a hard cutoff at Rattlesnake Bar at 3:50 p.m. The other important thing about Rattlesnake Bar, if you need aid or you don't need aid, doesn't matter. You go down to the aid station, cross the timing mat, and then head back out. If you do not cross that timing mat, you could result in a disqualification. So we need your time at Rattlesnake, and that means going down and back up. All right, so from Rattlesnake, you continue up that single track trail to the Cardiac aid station. Cardiac is water only. And also at Cardiac, the course briefly changes to pavement again. It's about 3-ish miles up, I believe, to the overlook on that paved road. So as you approach the overlook aid station, I just say overlook. Okay, overlook aid station. The different races take different approaches. So this one, we are going on the mid route. We're not taking the road. We're not taking that hilly back route. We're going the straight on through the middle, past the picnic bench. Again, follow the ribbons. And you turn, skirt the park, overlook park to the aid station. It'll be quite obvious. It's a big production. let's see, your hard cutoff at the Overlook is 6:40 p.m. Yes, you have medical, you have pacers, you have drop bags. It's a great oasis in the middle of your 100-miler. So after the Overlook, you're heading out on a big loop. You're going Overlook to Overlook, Overlook mile, 45-ish to Overlook mile 76-ish. So from the Overlook, you are heading down the Western States Trail to the No Hands Bridge aid station. The hard cutoff at No Hands is 7:50 p.m., right? Yes. From No Hands, your next landmark is going to be the Highway 49 crossing. No aid station, but there is CHP there to help you cross the road. Please remove your headphones. Listen to what they say. There are cars going fast that don't know or care that there's a 100-miler going on. They just want to get to where they're going. So listen to what the CHP say. Once you cross the highway, then you have a lovely, peaceful run on this big Overlook to Overlook loop. So you're going to head Quarry Road up to ALT. So this is a little hilly. You're going to head straight up to ALT. Not straight up. It's circumference. There are two creek crossings, I believe. I have not gotten eyewitness accounts, but we have not had much rain. So it's quite possible your feet are going to stay dry. You really are only going to get wet if we've had a really wet fall, and I don't think we have. So I think you're safe. Once you get to ALT, your hard cutoff is 10:50 p.m. After ALT, this is one of my favorite parts of the course. It's a very beautiful single track trail over to Brown's Bar, not an aid station, just a landmark. You're going to turn left at the bridge there at Brown's Bar, and you're going to climb Goat Hill. And then you have some nice rolling terrain to get back to Highway 49. Again, your brain is going to be a bit addled at this point, but listen to what the CHP says, remove your headphones, listen to what they say as they help you cross the road. From that point, you're going up the hill into Cool. So you're going to follow, if you ever run way too cool, you're going to kind of follow that finish line. The timing mat is going to be on the trail there. Cross the timing mat, and then to your right, pretty close, is going to be the aid station. Your hard cutoff at Cool is 1:45 a.m. Right? Yes. And here is a place where you can exchange your pacer as well. Okay, so Cool. So then you're going to cross that timing mat again, and you're going to head, you're retracing your steps at this point, head back down to No Hands Bridge. Return to the Overlook, back up, and then your hard cutoff there is 4:05 a.m. So then you're going to basically reverse course again, back down to Beals. So you're going to go back to Rattlesnake. Your hard cutoff there is 6:50 a.m. And again, go down to the aid station and back up. Regardless if you need aid or not, you have to cross that timing mat. And then it's just a nice, easy jaunt down to Beals. We did get one question on what's the most surprising or difficult thing about the course. I'm going to say surprising is when you get to Horseshoe Bar, they have the best breakfast burritos. I hope I'm not overstepping saying that, and I hope he's there this year. But it's a very nice surprise at that time of the morning to have a lovely breakfast burrito. Okay, get through Horseshoe Bar. And then it's just Granite Beach and then Beals Point with a hard cutoff of 11 a.m. And that's your finish line. So that's all I have prepared. Mike Turner, I can pass it to you. Do you have anything to add on the course?
Yes, I do. So we, with the social media team, we put together a couple of lengthy videos on the NorCal Ultras YouTube channel discussing the course in detail, talking about what kind of shoes to wear, talking about gear. There's 2 videos on there on Julia's Jewels on the road to Rio, talking about more in depth about what to expect. So check that out if you want more details on that. Also, we have other videos about where we've talked to different runners and other interesting stories leading up to the race. So Road to Rio, NorCal Ultras, you can check that out. Also come by after the race to the live stream booth at the finish line. We can chat about how your race went. That's exciting. We'll be out there in the morning and then starting at 7 p.m. all night long. So come out, meet us, say hi, tell us how your race went.
All right, thanks, Mike, and thank you, Leslie, for that detailed description of the course. Some things that I'll add just quickly on there. There is just shy of 14,000 feet of climbing total on the course, so not a whole lot relative to many other hundreds, but there's still some in there. And then one other piece that I'll talk about, there is a section between Granite Beach and Rattlesnake called the Rock Garden or the Meat Grinder that can be a little challenging. Not a lot of climbing, but it's kind of rocky through there. Usually on the way out, it's not a problem. On the way back, sometimes it is when your legs are really, really tired. That can be a challenge. At NorCal Ultras, our goal is, we always want to make sure our runners finish the race and have a good time. But actually, our number one goal and our highest priority is that everyone is safe. So we take safety very, very seriously. And we're going to talk a little bit about safety. I'm going to turn it over to Mark and Patty, and they're going to talk about the safety patrol and some of the things we do to keep our runners safe.
Okay, go ahead, Patty.
Hi, I'm Patty, and yes, we coordinate the safety patrol that will be out along the course throughout the 50K and the 100 mile, and we're there to be there in case there's any incidents that happen. If there's a real emergency, we have ham radio on, not on the beginning sections, but more towards the evening and the late at night, where there's not a lot of good cell reception. But the safety patrol there is really to keep everybody safe and keep you moving. In fact, I know for a fact that we have some really great ultra runners who we have, when you're coming back after you've done the big loop on the ALT and you're heading back now, you got into ADO, now you just got to get to that finish. They are excellent at running and making sure you stay on pace to get to that Rattlesnake bar cutoff so you can ensure that you will finish your Beals point. So they're not official pacers. Their primary duty is safety, but we also have a couple people there that will keep you going. So that's always a good thing.
And then I don't know if Aaron's here, but if you notice on the pace chart, there is medical at quite a few of the aid stations. So they're at Beals, they're at Rattlesnake Bar, they're at the Overlook, and they're at Auburn Lakes Trail, ALT. And then going back, same thing. There'll be medical at those aid stations. And if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and we'll get to them later. Thank you.
Yes. And all of our safety patrol, they're all experienced trail and ultra runners. So that's a good thing. So in case you run into trouble, they can give you some advice.
And you might not see their shirts. We have safety patrol red burgundy shirts, but they'll also have bibs, safety patrol bibs on, so you can recognize them by that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark and Patty. And as Mark, as they mentioned, these safety patrol runners are very experienced ultra runners. They also know the course very, very well. Most of them have run safety patrol for this event in the past, so they're very experienced with that. And as Mark mentioned too, we do have medical on the course at several locations. I'm going to have Julie touch on that just a little bit. We've got some medical experts out there to help you should you need some help.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing you on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Mark kind of stole my thunder with telling you where the medical was, but that's okay. And our medical director, Aaron, could not be here tonight, so I'm sitting in for him. And note, I am not as funny as he will be, or he is. So again, we have 5 on-course medical stations and then also the start and the finish line. So again, those locations are Beals, Rattlesnake, Overlook, ALT. Yes, did I miss one? No, that's it. And all of our medical personnel, they are equipped to do basic first aid. So they will patch you up, get you a Band-Aid, give you encouragement, help you be on your way. Their goal, obviously, safety is our number one priority, as James said, but their goal is to see you finish. So if you are looking to them to let you out of this race, that is not a good idea, as they will encourage you to keep on trucking, keep going, that you can do this. Most, if not all, of our medical personnel at all of these on-course aid stations are ultra runners themselves, so they know exactly what you're feeling, what's going through your mind, and all that kind of jazz. So again, you know, they're really there. They're there for your safety, but they are really there to just encourage you and to help, you know, keep you on course, keep you going to the finish line. So again, there's 5 on-course stations there that have medical personnel. And yeah, we want everybody to get to that finish line safely. And that's our goal. In case of emergency, it's 911. Yeah, and in case of emergency, it's a 911 call, and all of our captains and medical team know that as well. So we don't issue IVs or anything extravagant on the course. So again, basic first aid. Every aid station that does not have a medical personnel on site there also has a first aid kit and access to all of our medical team should we need to move a medical personnel to another station for an emergency.
All right, thank you, Julie. All right, next we're going to cover some of the logistics about getting you checked in and getting you to the starting line, and how the timing works and all that. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to Sherry.
Hello. Sorry, we got too many computers. So packet pickup is starting on Friday at noon at Fleet Feet in Folsom. The address is on the website, but it's on Auburn Folsom Boulevard, and it will end at 7 o'clock. But if you cannot make it during that time, you can come in on a race morning and you'll get your bib at that time. Not your swag bag. That will do. You'll get that after the race starts, or after you finish, or if your crew is there. But so 12 to 7 at Fleet Feet, and you can also have your pacers come with you, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But you'll be given drop bags. You'll get your bib, and if you forget your bib in the hotel, in your room, or whatever, then on Saturday morning, you come see me and I'll issue you a new bib and we'll get you changed into the system. On the website too, there is a runner checklist. It's just like a sample of what was used before. So you might want to take a look at that just to see what other people have for those of you who are, this is your first time. And so because we are going through state parks, you do need to have a parking pass of some sort, whether it's a poppy pass, a state park poppy pass, or there's envelopes that we'll have. Well, it's a limited number, but we'll have envelopes at packet pickup on Friday, and you can get that. It's going to be $12, and that at least covers you for both Saturday and Sunday in the state parks. And you will place the tag, the separate tag, on your dashboard, so that way all of the rangers can see it and attendants can see it. And this could also be for your crew people too. If you are a runner that has absolutely no support, no crew, no friends, no pacers, no nothing, and you're driving to the start, you see me and I will give you a parking pass, or you parking the entire time. Again, this is only if you have absolutely no support. Not your friends are going to come and see you later on. If you have absolutely no support, then you'll be able to park in Beal's parking lot for free. Let's see. What else are we doing on that? Anything else on that? No. So we do have runner tracking at various points along the course. The first one is going to be Willow Creek. Then next up, we'll be back at the start, or the start finish. Granite Beach, Rattlesnake Bar, the Overlook, No Hands, and ALT, and Cool. And you have to make sure you cross over all of those mats, because if you don't, and when you come in, if we don't see you consistently going through, we can't remove you from the race, and it will be a DNF. So again, make sure you cross over all of those mats, especially at Rattlesnake. Again, like Leslie said, you may not need aid, but you do need to go down to the aid station and cross those mats. Anything else that you want to add in? Okay, so that's it for runner check-in. Friday, 12 to 7 at Fleet Feet. Saturday, first thing in the morning.
All right. All right. Thank you, Sherry. I think she did mention runner tracking. Share that link with your friends so they can track you and keep up on where you're. Yeah, the website. Yep, it's on the website, so they can track your race all the way through at those points. I know we do have a lot of new 100-mile runners, as I mentioned. I think 106 brand new 100-mile runners, and the whole drop bag situation might be new to some of the runners, especially those newer ones. Of course, we do use drop bags for this race, and I'm going to turn it over to Jim and Sherry. I'll turn it back to Sherry, and they'll talk about the drop bags that we use here for Rio del Lago.
Hey, Sherry, you want me to start?
Okay, so we have the drop bags you'll pick up at Packet Pickup on Friday or first thing in the morning. But this is what the bag looks like. These are the bags that will go out on course. You can have your own bag at Fields for the start and finish, and mile 21. But make sure it's labeled with your bib number on. The rest of your stuff that goes out on course has got to be in one of these bags. It'll be labeled with your bib number on it. So when it goes out to the aid stations, they put it in numerical order, and then they can pick it up. So I'll turn it over to Jim, and he can tell you what you should put in your drop bags.
Okay, before I go to that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about when you get them. As Sherry said, put the bib number in, but also write the name of the aid station you're taking it to. It's going to help you not be so freaked out Saturday morning when you're looking for the sign that we will have. We'll have this sign that gives the name of the aid station and shows the mileage. And so what do you put in your drop bags?
Okay.
So you don't put anything of value in there. Don't put in your phone. Don't put in your wallet. Don't put in your car key. That's not a good idea to do. But as far as what you need to help you support you in the race, you put things in the clothing, shirts, vests, hats, shoes, socks that you may need. If you have special food needs, special drink needs, supplements, electrolytes. But I want to qualify that with, we have all those aid stations have anything you can imagine to them. So if you're going to be putting food and stuff in there, it's something that you really need to have. And what you want to do is looking at what your projected race time is. Look when you think you're going to need some of that equipment, clothing about when you think it's going to get cold, when you're going to need lights, when you might need gloves or a beanie, and plan accordingly to those aid stations. And it's always a good idea, in case you're running faster than you thought, that maybe you put a light and a little bit of a sweatshirt or something earlier than you think you need it, just in case that comes up. But what you want to have in there is something that's going to help you get to the finish line. And so based on what you've used in the past, look at it and see what you think you'll actually need. Just be reasonable with what you put in there. You don't want to be one of the 50-pound drop bags that we get every year and we all talk about, but just take a look at what you think you're going to need. plan accordingly. Do we want to move on to cruise, James?
Well, before we do that, did you mention the locations of the drop bags?
Yeah, let me go through that. The drop bags will be at Beals. So it'll be right when you come back to the start. It'll be at Rattlesnake, where you'll hit it twice, Overlook, where you'll hit it twice, and then Auburn Lake Trails. And then eventually all the drop bags will come back to the finish line. It's really important to make it clear what your bib number is, because the volunteers at the aid stations can go get that for you quickly. You can get what you need. You get yourself back out there on the run.
All right, thanks.
Drop bags at Beals, 12 p.m. Sunday time.
Yeah, so drop bags that are out on the course will be back to Beals Point by noon. Oh, no, it need to be picked up by noon at Beals Point. Yep, noon real time, not race time. I know we're confusing everybody now because we've been talking about race time and then now real time.
Yeah, the drop bags will get back to Beals, to the finish line, about 90 minutes after that particular aid station closes. So let's see, on the Overlook, for example, on the return, it's a 4:05 cutoff. So those drop bags, don't expect them back to Beals Point sooner than about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. But again, we need everybody to pick up those drop bags by noon on Sunday at Beals. Otherwise, we will actually donate those contents to a local charity right after the race. So we don't hold on to anything. So please, and if you, the runner, we understand that you're tired and you're incoherent. So tag a crew member, a family, a friend, somebody else can absolutely pick up your drop bags for you at the finish line. And when you see the drop bag location retrieval at the finish line, all of your drop bags will be combined. So if you had 3 drop bags on course, those will all be together and not segregated out by aid station. So if you're bib number 1 and you had 3 drop bags on course, you'll see all 3 of your drop bags back at the finish line collaboratively together. So just a reminder to really pick those up and help us out there.
Yep. And there was one question we got on email regarding drop bags for the 50K. Now for the 50K, there's only one location for drop bags, and that's at Beals Point. So those runners will be coming through there around 21.5 miles. And then, of course, back at the finish line. And now, just like the 100-mile runners, any bags left at Beals Point don't need to be in those special bags. It can be in any, duffel bag or whatever you want them to be in. The question that came in is, what should a 50K runner have in their drop bag? Well, to be honest, as we said, the aid stations, as Jim said, the aid stations are very well stocked. So in terms of food and drink, unless there's something special that runner might need nutritionally, they probably don't need much in there. And since that 50K fits pretty much in the daylight hours, they don't need light or probably not clothing. I know we didn't really mention weather yet, but the weather, knock on wood, has been looking pretty good down the roads for race weekend. We're probably going to be in the 40s.
High of 71.
Oh, at the start, yeah. Probably in the 40s for a low at the start, and then probably 70 for a high is what it's looking like. Certainly going to want to monitor it. But if the weather holds out, that's going to, at least, and certainly for the 50K runners, it's going to really limit what you're going to need just in terms of clothing to stay warm. Now, what you might want, and the same with the 100-mile runners, is to have clothing to put on after the race in that bag. So if you're wet or sweaty and you want something dry to put on, that's a good place to have that in that bag as well. So hopefully we've answered most of your questions on drop bags. And I'm going to go back to Jim, and he's going to talk about your crews and what's involved and what the role is for your crews for the 100-mile race.
Okay, I want to reinforce something that Sherry said. If you don't have a poppy pass or a day use permit, that will result in a ticket for the vehicle that's parked. So make sure your crews understand that. Those crews can only go to Beals, to Granite Beach, to Rattlesnake, to Overlook, and Cool. These are the only places that you can interact with your runner and give them aid. If you crew the runner anywhere outside of that, your runner will be disqualified. So those are all easy places to get to, and keep that in mind. Crew waivers have been signed, but you need to remember as runners that whatever your crew does, it's as if you did it. So remind them of that you want to make sure you get credit for running 100 miles. As far as the role of the crews, you should be familiar with what your runner likes to eat and drink, what kind of gear they use, what they like to wear. So as they ask you for stuff, you know what you can get the stuff out of the bags, or if they have you with a special box. So you have an idea. You want to find out at each aid station, talk to them about what they need. And you're kind of like the pit boss at a race. Just think about that. You need to ask them, talk to them, evaluate what they might need, make suggestions, and then make a decision for them. Because your goal is to get them out of that aid station as fast as you can. So have a conversation with your crew runners and runners with your crews about what you think you're going to need at each aid station, what you're going to have for them to grab for you so they can get what you need, whether it's some special drinks, some special food, supplements, whatever, and then the clothing that they may want. But I want to really emphasize that whoever the crew is, and it's good to have a crew captain, so everybody's not trying to make a decision with 5 people, that you get the runner what they need, you get them back out of the aid station and get them on their way. We have a saying in ultra running that nobody ever finished the race sitting in an aid station. So you guys all know your runners, and you talk to them, evaluate them, look them in the eyes, get them what they need. If there's something that you don't have, you can talk to the aid station people. They'll see what they can do for you. But just be familiar with each other so that you have an idea of what you think the runner might know. And then we get a successful finish for the people and everybody has a good time.
That's all right. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that information.
There's an excellent book called Crewing for an Ultra Marathon, Start to Finish. This was promoted in our Final Runner Instruction e-blast. It's by Sandra Bullock Smith. It's an excellent resource. I have a copy of it, and I've done 20 plus years of this, but it is absolutely integral for you and your crew to have. You can get this on Amazon, but also Sherry's going to be raffling off 4 autographed copies at Fleet Beat Folsom on Friday. So if you go there, you might be the lucky recipient of one of these. But again, you can pre-order and pre-get this book right away and share it with your crew and go over it. And it is a resource that you're going to have for as many of these ultras as you desire to do, but highly recommend you get a copy of that. It's called Crewing for an Ultra Run, Start to Finish. Sandra Bullock Smith is the author. And it's fantastic. I give 5-star review on this book. And again, I've done this for, over 2 decades, and she's got some really great tips and strategies and tactics for the crew and the runner to be aware of.
All right. Thanks, Julie. As we're talking about the crew, certainly, and like Jim mentioned, you may be the runner, but very few ultra runners finish the race alone. They do it with crew, but many of them also do it with pacers. And to talk about pacers, I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris. So if you have a pacer,
You don't have to have a pacer, but if you do have a pacer, it's there's a couple of things you need to know. I just posted in the group chat a link to the pacer waiver. Every pacer has to sign that. It's probably best if you get that done ahead of time and just bring it to check-in. They will need to sign the liability waiver for the pacer and turn it into the race, or they can't pace. They also need to pick up a pacer bib. So that it's a race bib like everything else, like all the others. It just says pacer on the front, and that way the folks at the aid stations know that that's what that person's doing out there. You can do that in two places on two occasions. One, you can do it at race check-in from 12 to 7 on Friday at Fleet Feet, or you can do it, I want to say, between 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. on Saturday at Beals Point. And that's the only place you can do it. So make sure that your pacer knows this and gets that taken care of before they try and join you somewhere, because they will get pulled from the course. There are 4 places where you can where your pacer can join you. One is at the Overlook at about mile 45. That's the first location. The next one is not until Cool Fire Station, and that's about mile 69. You can change pacers, or you can kick yours out because they smell funny. At the Overlook when you get back. And then you can also pick up a pacer or change at Rattlesnake on the inbound. So at mile 86, you can't get a pacer outbound at Rattlesnake because you just haven't gone far enough. The pacers have the same rules that the runners do. You got to obey those rules. You can't have trekking poles. You can't have you can't do it on a bike or anything like that. It's got to be done on foot. There's no muling, so your pacer's not going to be carrying your stuff for you. They can't give you mechanical aid. So like if you're going through the meat grinder and you've got a nasty step and your feet aren't working too well, they're not allowed to assist you up that. They can cheer you on, but that's it. One good thing to keep in mind with pacers is your thinking gets a little bit foggy, and this is a good reason to have a pacer. Is your cognition is just degraded a bit by the end of the day, and it helps to have somebody who's a little more clear-headed. And that, especially leaving the Overlook on the way back to the finish, because the marking it's well marked, but it's a road. So instead of like ribbons that are hanging just to the left or the right of you on a single track, these are on the side of the road. And if you're running down the middle of the road, you have to look for them. And so if you have a pacer, make them take responsibility for making sure you don't get lost. Otherwise you have to make sure you don't get lost. But that's about it with pacers. The pacer has to stick with the runner. So you can't go running up ahead to fill baggies full of stuff at the aid station. You can't be like quarter mile ahead or anything like that. You got to be with your runner. I don't think there's a restriction on whether the pacer has to be in front or behind. We'll get clarification on that if I'm wrong. But other than that, it's not rocket science. Just make sure it's best to have a pacer who has surfed this beach before, so to speak, and can help you make decisions that you're having trouble making. It's good for the moral support. It can be good to have somebody who can give you a kick in the pants, figuratively speaking, when you're just lacking the spirit. So, and if you don't have a pacer and you want a pacer, you can. It's a good community, so make friends on the trail, and you can usually team up with somebody who either doesn't have a pacer. There's a lot of people out there, so if you just want company, you can run along with somebody else. And that's about all I've got to say about pacing. They're allowed to eat at the aid stations. If your pacer needs to put something in a drop bag, it's probably best if they put it in your drop bag, but they shouldn't need a whole lot. If you're feeling good, can we pace our pacer? If you drop your pacer, you win. So, yeah, I've done that once. Not because I was going fast, but because my pacer got injured. But it's yeah. If you're feeling good, have a good time. That's the main thing. Have a good time. So I hope everybody does well. I think that's it for Pacers. Unless Julie or James, you can think of anything else I can add to that. I think going on to
one thing I would add, as like Jim was talking about with the crew, it's good to discuss in advance, the strategy. In my experience, it's good to do that same thing with the pacer. It's good for your pacer to know what your nutrition and your hydration plan is, because they can help you stay on it. When you don't want to eat at 2 a.m, they can help you eat, or encourage you to eat and stay on track. They can help you, as Chris mentioned, keeping you from getting lost, because they're a little more clear-headed, and they can stay on that too. So it's good, just to talk about what your plan is with your pacer, so that they're aware of what if you've got a time goal in mind, they can help try to keep you on that time goal, and they can keep you sticking to your hydration and nutrition plan, because as you know, if you don't know already, that is probably one of the most critical parts of finishing an ultra, is being able to stick and get the calories in you, and stay hydrated. Did you have something to add on that too, Jim?
Yeah, I did. One thing on the Pacers, on the Pacer bibs, Sherry will issue that runner, as long as they have their Pacer waivers signed, a total of 2 Pacer bibs. Now, there's opportunity to have a third pacer in the mix, as we've talked about. So one of those pacers would need to then switch off that pacer bib to that third pacer. So we have enough to give each runner 2 pacer bibs, but if you've got 3, so make arrangements that pacer 2 to pacer 3 needs to hand off that pacer bib.
Okay, and then as Chris mentioned, your pacer does have to have that pacer bib on, and again, just to reiterate, there's only 2 places where they can sign that waiver. One is at check-in. The other is on that Saturday race day at Beals Point. I know, in past years, people have gone up to the Overlook, because that's the first place where they can pick up a pacer, but that's not where they can sign it. So make sure that the pacer knows that. They'll stop at Beals Point, sign the waiver, then go up to the Auburn Overlook to start pacing. So just want to make sure that is covered, because we don't want anybody panicking last minute because the pacer didn't sign the waiver or get the bib. I mentioned earlier, nutrition is critical to finishing an ultra, especially a 100-miler. It's pretty much just a 100-mile buffet, right? And you got to eat the right stuff to be able to get to the finish line. So I'm going to turn it back to Chris, but Jen is going to join him as well, and they're going to talk about what nutrition we will have out on the course.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen. I'm just going to talk to you briefly about some of the products from our sponsors that are going to be out there. But first, I'm going to, we're lucky enough to have Scratch Hydration as a sponsor. And I believe Makiko from Scratch is on the call and wanted to say a few words before we get started. So I'm going to let her kick us off.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Makiko, representing Scratch Labs. So I have run this race and crewed friends and volunteers. So it's really special to be back as a sponsor. And this is our first year to support Rio del Lago. And we are super excited. So Scratch Lab was founded, well, a little bit of the backstory. Scratch was founded by Dr. Alan Lim, who spent years and years on a pro cycling tour as a sports scientist and then also a coach. So he watched his teammates suffer through all the nutrition products and problems. So he wanted to make it better for his athlete. So he started making his own concoction of sports drink, and that became as a secret drink mix. And that's like the origin of a current Scratch sports drink mix. And over the years, that the products developed, and we offer so many wide variety of products now, but the philosophy and approach stays the same. We want to help athletes perform better by solving their nutrition problems. So what we do is to create nutrition products that you actually want to eat that taste good, right? So we also eliminated all the unnecessary additives like artificial sweetener, color, and preservatives. So it's really Scratch is bare essentials that doesn't offend your palate or the guts, like what you need for you to perform better, and doesn't really contain anything that doesn't serve your purpose. And then some products we have at the aid stations. So all the aid stations should have this sports drink mix. So this is formulated to match your electrolyte profile of your sweat. Right, so plus a little bit of real fruits for flavor and sugar to give you just enough energy. And one serving of sports drink has about 400 milligram of sodium and 80 calorie. And then in addition to lemon lime flavor, which has no caffeine, there will be a raspberry limeade at the, I believe, Horseshoe aid station and onward. And that has 50 milligram of caffeine per serving. And one serving is about 16 ounces of water. And then some aid stations, specifically Bills, Overlook, Nohans, ALT, and Cool Fire Station, they will have energy chews. So energy chews are really good source of quick energy with simple carbohydrate to help you, maintain blood sugar during running exercise. And the energy in the chews come from the simple carbohydrate, and it contains about 160 calories per this small packet, and that has about 10 chews inside. And then one unique thing is it has a higher water content, and also the coating is not oil or wax, and it's citric acid sugar coating, so it kind of makes it easy to chew and the swallow, and also they don't really stick to your teeth. So I think that's a really nice thing to have when you're busy and you want to move fast. And then Scratch team will be at the Bills and Overlook aid station. On those two aid stations, we will have extra products called super high carb drink mix, which is basically a liquid calorie. So it's a good option when you don't want to eat any solid food anymore, or no food seems appetizing, but you want to take in calories. So this drink mix is made with cluster dextrin, which is a complex carbohydrate that digests slowly and steadily. So it doesn't really overwhelm your guts when you take in a considerable amount of calorie. So we have the products ready. One serving will have 400 calories with 100 gram of carbohydrate and 400 milligram of sodium. But also this is customizable. So if you don't want that much calorie in your bottle, we can make it weaker. We can make it 200 calorie. So if you want to try a liquid calorie like this, come to our tent next to the aid station at the Bills and Overlook, and we'll help you. And then at the runner check-in, the last thing, runner check-in, I will be at the Fleet Feet Folsom, and we'll have all the products available for you to sample. So come stop by and try it before the race day. And I look forward to seeing all of you, and good luck to you.
thanks, Makiko. I guess I can take it back now. This is Jen again. So, and I just have to say that that Scratch high carb drink mix is a really fantastic solution if, like me, you tend to lose your appetite in the nighttime hours of a 100-miler. So, and it's just a really helpful way to get calories coming in. And so, so in addition to Scratch hydration, which Makiko described for you, at the various aid stations, as you can see on your screen that Sherry's shared, there will be goo gels, both caffeinated and non-caffeinated, in a variety of flavors. Those will be at every aid station. And the flavors are here for you. We've also shared a link in the chat to this PDF. There will also be the Chews from Scratch available, and Salt Stick is providing electrolyte fast chews, which are not the capsule form of electrolytes that some of us have been taking regularly for decades, and I think are also something that you might take. But these are chewable electrolytes, which have a mild flavoring, and they sometimes they seem to be faster absorbed to me, and they can really kind of help you get your electrolytes back in balance if they're out. And then we also heard about jam bars earlier, and those will be on the course. Those, again, are gluten-free and vegan, and they come in the 4 different flavors, I think they are, but I'm not sure what flavor we'll have on the course. I think perhaps the mango, but Julie can clarify if I'm wrong. And then there will also be another sponsor is Cram. Cram makes these fantastic sort of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that are they're almost like Uncrustables, and they're individually wrapped so that they're sterile, and they are made from really high quality ingredients, and they are it's like a wheat bread, I think, and it's really good. But they're very delicious. And those are the products from our sponsors. And then I will let Chris talk to you about the real food on the course. Not to say these aren't real food, but the sort of the less runner specific.
Yeah. So I just posted in the group chat a link to that page that Makiko was sharing with a list of what's available at all the aid stations. So count me as another big fan of Scratch, the high carb stuff. That's a great way to keep on top of your calories. You'll find, if you haven't done this kind of distance before, you will find that your what you thought you would be eating, at mile 70 has changed. Like Jen had said, the appetite can kind of wane, and sometimes the best you can do is liquid calories. So it's good to have something with a lot of calories in a liquid. But there's other things like real food is like we say, quote unquote, real food. But we're talking about grilled cheese sandwiches, quesadillas, broth, the standard fare with boiled potatoes and salt. Sometimes you just need something like that to make you feel human again. And so all of that stuff is gonna be at the aid stations. And I encourage you to sample that. It's a good thing to mix up your sources of fuel. It'll sustain you. And then there's things like my son had a near religious experience with broth once. And for me, it's coffee. But if you have special diet needs, like if you're
gluten intolerant, or you're vegan, vegetarian, there's those options are available. You just need to tell people that's what you're looking for. And then the other thing to keep in mind is we'd like to be invited back next year. We have to get permits for this race, and if we litter, they're going to be less likely to do that. So please, the GU has this great system with the TerraCycling, so they I think we're doing that again this year. That program will have there'll be a big bin where you can throw your gel wrappers and that sort of stuff in there, and they're not particular. You don't have to put GU wrappers in there. If you had a Cliff gel or something, you can just put all of that in there, and they do really good cool stuff with it. I think there's a bench at Michigan Bluff, isn't there? It was made out of recycled GU wrappers or something. Anyway, just make sure you don't litter. There's plenty of receptacles for trash and recycling stuff. If you can't get your brain around it, hand it to your crew and have them do it. We just don't want to leave any litter out there, if at all possible, because it makes us look bad, and we don't want to look bad. So that's it on nutrition, I think, unless the boss has something to say.
Oh, I always do, but
Red Bull.
Yes, Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Red Bull will be at all the aid stations. Sherry's got a can. She's maybe going to drink it tonight before she goes home. But there'll be Red Bull at all the aid stations, as well as Coke and ginger ale. But we are a cupless race. So that means that you need to bring your own cup to this race. We do not have cups at any of the aid stations. So you can pre-buy something at your local retailer, specialty store, or Fleet Beat has them. You can get them on Amazon, Nathan, etc. But you'll need a cup for this race, unless you're planning on putting your Coke or your ginger ale into your flask or your bottle, of which you can do that. But soup and other liquids might get a little tricky. So you need to bring a cup with you to this race. Again, we are a cupless race. Back on the jam bars, I want to confirm what Jen said. All of the flavors will be on the course, but caveat, we are heavier on the tropical trio flavor and the musical mango. So there are far more of those two flavors than there are of the chocolate cha-cha and the jam and dazzleberry and the malt nut. So heavy on tropical trio and musical mango on course, which should suffice for anybody who needs the gluten and vegan options. Okay. Thanks, guys. You did awesome. I'm hungry.
Well, we're going to stay with Chris and Jen because we're getting into that critical time in your race preparation called tapering. And Chris and Jen are both experts at tapering. I'm an expert too. I've been tapering for the last several years. But they've been specifically doing it just for races. So we'll turn it back to Chris and Jen.
I would like to clarify, one of us is an expert at tapering. One of us is an all or nothing sort of guy who either runs all the way up to the race day or doesn't run at all. I struggle with it. I have for decades. Listen to my wife.
Okay. So I'm going to talk to you guys. You are all tapering now, I should hope, because we're within 2 weeks. There's different philosophies. Some people taper as long as 4 weeks. Some people take 2 weeks. Some people take 10 days. We're at least at 10 days. So start resting if you haven't. It's better to show up a little bit undertrained for the race than a little bit or at all injured. So it's better to err on the side of resting more and reaping the benefits of all that hard training you've done. But this is really a perfect time to really start putting the final touches on your race plan. Hopefully you've been thinking about this already, but now is definitely the time to do it if you haven't. And so what do I mean by race plan? you want to have an idea of sort of what time you're going to get to the different aid stations. Number one, so your crew knows when you're going to be there. Number two, so you know where you need a light, where you might need warmer clothes, things like that. So it's good to sort of plan out when you think you're going to reach different aid stations. That's one type of plan, but there's another type of plan that I think it's helpful to think about, and that's, really starting your mental preparation by planning. Think through the course. Leslie gave us a great overview of the course. There are maps on the website if you're not already familiar with it. But think through different sections of the course so that you can break it down mentally. And how are you going to feel when you're at different points on the course? So if it were me planning this race, I'd think about the first loop, Beals to Beals. Okay, that's a lot of pavement. What's my strategy for running that? How am I going to not go too fast? How am I going to feel at different points in there? How am I going to rein it in, slow down, and not freak out? Because the course does start going downhill, so it's easy to kind of get carried away. The next section is really, I would think of it as Beals to Overlook. That's a big, that's a section with the meat grinder, or the rock garden, as we like to call it. And that's sort of a bridge section. What am I going to be thinking about? It's going to be getting later in the day. I'm going to be getting more tired. After Overlook, you've got the next big section, Overlook to Overlook, where you have, it's going to turn into nighttime. And unless you're at the very front, I'm going to have my pacer. I'm going to be tired. Think about each section is what I'm encouraging. And mentally, how are you going to feel? The last section would be Overlook to the finish. What do you want to think about in that section? How are you going to be focused on the finish and striving to get the best result you want? So that's just sort of a visualization strategy. A lot of people, we think about visualization as, you want to picture yourself crossing that finish line, getting the buckle, triumphant. But it's not just that, because problems come up in 100 miles, inevitably. And so you want to think about, how are you going to deal with struggles? How are you going to deal with it? And I like to brainstorm, like, what's everything that can go wrong? So say I get freezing, what am I going to do about it? And think through so that you've thought ahead to different scenarios. And when you're calm and, in a place of, being relaxed because you're tapering, how are you going to address those problems when they come up so that you have a plan in your mind ahead of time? What are you going to have? What are you going to do if you're throwing up? What are you going to do if this or that? So that's, let's see. And I will make a list and I will write it down because that's kind of the person I am. and if this happens, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, and so that's the kind of mental prep I think can really help you have the race you want. And it's something, we like to talk about all the strategies for fueling, for training, for all of that. And those are very important, but we also, it helps to prepare your mind too, because that can be the thing that makes or breaks your time goal, or sometimes your finish. That's all I have to say.
All right, thanks, Jen. One last topic I want to make sure we touch on is nighttime running. Every runner will be running in the dark at the start, certainly, but all the 100-milers, even the fastest 100-milers, based on the how early it gets dark, will be running during some nighttime hours. So I'm going to invite Mansoor here to jump on and share some of his strategies for nighttime running.
Hello all. I hope by run, especially for all those first-time 100-mile runners, because night would be more difficult. It will slow you down.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It will slow you down, and you need all the help you can get. So I hope that you have tested your headlights already. You have tested your batteries. You have tested your backup batteries. If you haven't done it yet, it's not too late. You can get out there tonight, tomorrow night, go for an hour or two and test it out to see how it works. Also, you want to make sure your pacer have a good lights and they have tested. I have seen it. The pacer come and help the runner, and guess what? The headlight is not working or battery is dead. More lights is your friends. And in this race, you will have anywhere between, for some of you, from 12 to 14 hours of night runs. If you can see well, you can go faster. You have better timing, you have a better chance of finishing the race. Because here we all want all of you guys to finish the race. So pay attention to your lights. If you don't have a good one, maybe get another one. Higher lumens is better in the run in the night times. Have extra batteries and make sure how long your battery lasts. And you can have one on your drop bag. For sure, you want to have one at the startup. 5 a.m. would be dark. And it get dark at about 5:30 p.m. and you're going to run over 12 hours in nights. So that's about lights, but that would be important on the race day for you.
All right, thank you. As he mentioned, testing your lights in advance certainly is helpful. Doing that practice run, if you've not run at night before, I would say that's real critical to learn. What works best for you. Some people carry a handheld. Some use a light, a headlamp. Some people like a waist lamp, and I'll say sometimes, from my experience, a waist lamp or a handheld in conjunction with a headlamp works real well, because then it helps you see the ground, because a headlamp by itself can kind of flatten out the ground so you don't see the rocks or the roots as well. But if you have a light down lower shining across the ground, you tend to see those shadows and certainly can help you. So that's a tip that I'll share with you. All right, so I think we covered I'm getting a note here, and this says,
passing notes.
I can't read it. I'll have Julie read it since it's her handwriting.
Scribbled here.
Yeah.
Just a note back on the course, as Leslie went over the course, but there will be 3 lead cyclists leaving Beals at the start at 5 a.m. In front of both the 50K and the 100-mile. What's that? In front of the 100-mile and 50K lead runners. So just know that those lead cyclists will take you through the first 21 miles. There will be a section after you get into after the Johnny Cash into downtown Folsom. Those cyclists will depart for a few miles, leave you solo if you are one of those front runners, both on the male and female side, and then reconnect with you just after Karen's Bakery onto the Lake Natoma Loop heading towards Willow Creek. And then those cyclists will take you to the Hazel Bluff, leave you just for a little bit so you can do that nice trail section, and then meet back up with you on the paved section and take you back into Beals Point. But always, as Leslie mentioned, you should always just follow those orange markers with the reflective tips at all times.
All right, thanks. Julie mentioned those lead runners. Well, we may have some fast runners on this call tonight. And maybe somebody's interested in going after some course records. So I just mentioned those real quickly. The men's course record was set in 2007 by John Olson, 15 hours and 31 minutes. The women's course record was set in 2022 by Lindsay Dwyer in 16:51. Those are our course records for this race. So the weather might be good. I think it's going to be good. It'll be a good day for fast running if you're up to it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is these events don't happen without hundreds of volunteers. People that you see tonight, certainly, but on the course, there are so many people that you will see and many you don't see. People who mark the course in advance, people who take the ribbons down. But of course, the people that are working the aid stations, all of those course marshals out there, that help guide you along. Those lead cyclists that Julie was just talking about. There are just a lot of people that it takes to make this event happen. So for those volunteers that you do see, try to thank them when you see them, because this event can't happen without them. So we appreciate you taking some time tonight. Hopefully you found some of this information helpful, and it can get you to that finish line. We want to see everybody at the start line, but we really want to see everybody at the finish line. So we want to do everything we can to help you get there. If more questions come up, certainly, hopefully, most of them have been answered already, but if more questions come up, you can continue to email them. I don't know.
Sure.
Who's answering them. Somebody's answering them. staff@norcalultras.com. So if a question comes up, certainly you can do that and get it answered. But you can also save those questions, and at Packet Pickup, we'll have many, many experts there, many people who've run this race before, who are volunteers. And Sherry is our expert here. She can answer those questions. I think Sherry will be at Packet Pickup as well. So you can ask those questions at that time. And certainly race morning too. We'd all be happy to answer those questions that time.
You have to know how to get to a start.
Oh, yeah, I would just a suggestion here. Race morning, we want to make sure everybody gets there plenty early and ready, and they know where they're going. So we may have some people coming from out of town. Probably Friday after Packet Pickup. It's not very far away to the start. Maybe take that drive in the evening so you know how long it's going to take you to get there, and you know exactly where to go and park. We just want to make it as easy for you as possible. All right, I think that is all we have for you tonight. Once again, I thank you all for joining us. And if you want to go back and listen to it, this recording will be up in about 72 hours. Thank you all, and good night.